I'm a big fan of tools that do a job and do it well, and in this first look video I want to demonstrate one such plugin. Enter Dynoments Rexy, a plugin that makes working with Elementor Pro and ACF flexible content meta fields an absolute breeze. So in this video I'm going to quickly show you how to get started with a very simple example, but you could certainly go all in and build much more powerful and feature-rich setups with relative ease. Now it is also worth mentioning before I start that this plugin is still in beta. This is not the final product, so bear that in mind as the features you see in this video could still change when it's released. Okay, so let's take a look now at Dynoments Rexy and see how it all works. So let's kick off by quickly taking a look at the plugin we're going to be demoing today. Now this is the beta version of this. This hasn't been released yet, so you may see some quirks, you may see some things change when this is finally released. I just want to give you that overview of how it all works. So this is where we can set up Elementor to work with ACF or Advanced Custom Fields flexible content. Now it says repeater fields as well, but at the time of releasing this, I believe that repeater field function is going to be coming a little later. So just bear that in mind. Right now, we're only going to be taking a look at the flexible content option. So the Dynoments site, you can see we can have a look at a demo. We can also sign up to get notified when this is released, and you can also watch a little introduction video. Now, most of what you'll see in this introduction video is going to be very similar to what you see in this video. However, I'm going to be working in a slightly different way where we start to use templates, which is not something that's being used in the demo video. And then you can take a look at some more information about what's happening, how it works, and as you can see, the repeater fields made easy is something that's coming soon. Okay. Now to get this working properly, we need to have a couple of plugins installed. We've got Advanced Custom Fields Pro, the Dynoments plugin, and Elementor Pro. Now we need to use Elementor Pro because we need to have those dynamic tags. Without those, you can't actually carry these operations out because you don't have the features built in. So with that being said, how do we start working? Well, the first thing we need to do is to create the custom fields group. So let's just do that. Let's create a new field group. And from there, we're going to give this a name. We're just going to call this Flexible Field Group. And before we move on and start creating the actual field group itself, let's set up the location and some of the other options. So we're going to set this to be the post type is equal to, and we're going to use, for this example, page. But you can just as easily set this up to work with posts as well. Or if you create custom post types, you could do that as well and link these through to those. So there's a lot of flexibility there for us. Next up, we're just going to simply hide some of the things that I don't want on this particular example. But again, this is totally optional. So I'm going to set this to toggle all of those off. And next up, we're going to move on to actually creating the fields. So we're going to add one field to start off with, and this is going to be our flexible field. So we're just going to give this a name. As you can see, we'll drop the field name in there, and we're going to change the type. And let's just scroll the page up so you can see. And we're just going to choose the option for flexible content. This will then open up the flexible content options. Now, if you've never used flexible content as a field type in ACF, it's really quite simple, but getting an understanding of how it works will just make the whole process of using it a little bit easier. So if you consider the flexible content field type to be a container, and a container that can have various different types of content sitting inside it. So you can have the flexible content container, and then inside there, you could have each individual container element to be a different field type. So you could have a text field, you could have a text area, you could have a gallery, you could have almost anything. But it goes beyond that. You can also have each one of those that sits inside there to have multiple different field types inside there. So you could get really creative with this and start creating much more complex layouts. But just understanding how it works is the first step. I'm going to keep this really simple in this example, but when we take a look at the plugin once it's actually released, I'll probably take a look at doing some more with it and creating more advanced sort of flexible content types. Okay, so let's create our first layout. So the label we're going to give this is title, and we're going to give this the name of title_layout, just so it makes it easy to see what the various different component elements are. We'll leave everything else as it is, and now we're going to add in the field. So this is just, like I say, these little containers that sit inside your flexible content, and then you can add single fields or multiple fields inside each one of those layout containers. So let's add a field in, and for this, we're just going to keep this really simple, and we're just going to call this section title, because we can have multiple sections. leave that. That's perfectly fine. Text is also fine. If you want to set any other values, you can do that inside here. We don't need to for this example. So we'll say that first little layout is complete. We're now going to add another layout, and this time we're going to call this section content. Again, you can see that pre-fills out the name, and we're just going to put layout underneath, or should I say layout at the end of it. And this time we'll add another field. We're going to call this content. And we're going to change this to text area, and we're going to quickly come down and set the no formatting option to add in the breaks. We'll close that down, and we'll add our third and final option inside here for now. We'll say add new, and we're just going to call this section gallery. And again, we'll just prepend that with the term underscore layout. Finally, we'll just add our field type in, and we're just going to call this gallery, and we'll change this field type to gallery. And there we go. So we can leave all the other values as they are. That's all perfectly fine. And we've created our first flexible content group. So we can publish this, and that's the first part of this guide completed. So now if we take a look at the page, the add new page option, you can see we've got a completely different layout to what we normally have. Yes, we've still got the title in there, but everything else is pretty much gone. We can still edit with Elementor, but we can also disable that in the Elementor settings. So what we can effectively create here is a really simple kind of page builder layout that just allows people to use the various building blocks that we want to give them, and then they can fill their content in. So there's going to be lots of use cases where this could be incredibly useful. So with that said, we can put our title at the top, we would remove the Elementor option, and then we've got this field group underneath, which is for our flexible field group we've just created. Now if we click on add row, you can see there's the three different types of layouts we've just created: the title, the section content, and the section gallery. So we've got those key things all set up. What we need to do now is create the individual section templates that will hold and style the content for our gallery, our title, and for our content. So let's just do that next. We're going to come over to the template section and go into save templates. From there, we're going to use the section template. So we'll choose section, we'll add new section, and what we're going to do is we're going to call this, we're going to put in brackets flexible, because we're going to then know exactly what this relates to, that this is a flexible based template. We'll quickly copy that so I can duplicate that and make it easier. And we're just going to put title in. Create our template. And now what we can do is we can use Elementor to style the various different components, so the text and all those kinds of things. So let's get rid of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag the title over into our layout. And you can see this now just pulls in the normal placeholder text. So what we're going to do is quickly jump over to the style section, and we'll just tweak some of these so you can just see how this all works. So all I'm going to do is just change the font, the size, the weight, and so on, just as an example. Okay, so there's what we've done. There's our styling in place. Come back to content, and we just need now to link up this placeholder with the dynamic information. So we're going to use the dynamic tags option. Click on there, scroll right way to the bottom, and you can see we have a new section called Dynoments, and in there we've got flexible content text field, because we've just put a text or title element in, so it knows roughly what kind of content's going to go in there. So we'll choose that option, and as always with anything to do with dynamic tags, we're going to click on the little wrench icon, and from there we're going to then link it with the right ACF field. Expand that, and you can see we've got section title and content. Those are two of the flexible content types we've just set up. Set section title, and we are done. So we're going to click publish on there, and that's the first of our 3 section templates created. Now we need to create the second one. So I've gone ahead and done most of that. So this time we're going to call this content. And we'll create our template, and like we did before, we can just close the Elementor sort of predefined library widget down, get rid of that, and this time we're just going to drag in the text editor area. And again, if you want to set your styling up, you can do all that inside here. We're just going to use the dynamic tags option and choose that flexible content text field, hit the little wrench icon, and change this now to content. There's our second one done. And finally, we're going to create the gallery template. So we'll create our template, and we'll just grab the gallery widget, drag and drop that in there. And again, same again, we're going to choose the dynamic tags option. This time we've got flexible content gallery, and we're going to choose that, hit the little wrench icon, and choose the gallery from there. As always, you can go through and set this up to look the way you want, whether now or you can do it afterwards when you create some content and you just want to see and style everything from that point. Up to you how you want to work. We'll hit publish, and that's our 3 section templates all created. Now for this example, we've got one theme template to create, and that's going to be the theme template for our single page. So we're going to add a new template in from the Elementor theme builder. And from here, we could start off if we want to with any of the blank templates, and we could use those to build from. However, I'm just going to close this, and we're going to start with just a blank slate, just so we can see how this works. So first up, I'm going to pull in the post title, and this is just going to be the title that we assign to this particular page. Now, I'm not going to worry about styling it because I'm sure you all know how to do that if you're watching this video. But what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our widgets, and we're going to search for flexible. So there's our Rexy flexible content. We're simply going to drag that into our page. And what we've got now is a very simple set of options. The flexible content name. Which of our ACF field groups are we going to associate this with? We've only got one, but obviously you'd have multiple if you're building a more complex site. You can pick and choose from this list. Next, we're going to add the layouts, and these are the layouts we've just created, the section layouts. Add an item. So our first one is going to be title, and then we associate it with the title template we've just created. So there we go. We'll do that again. This one's going to be the section content, and again we'll link that with the content, and the third and final is the section gallery that we'll link with the gallery. So what we've basically done now is tell the page template to know which section templates are going to be used for any of the content from our flexible content type. Hope that makes sense. Can get a little bit confusing because it's different levels to get different things, these different stages to get the end result to output. But once we've done that, we can publish this, or we can add any more content that we want into this particular template. For now, we're going to keep it really simple. Hit publish on there. We're going to set this up to be pages and all. So you can make sure that from these lists, we want all the pages to use this template. In this example, obviously there's going to be different reasons you'd want to or not want to use that kind of setup. We'll say save and close. And we've now created our theme template for pages. So with that being said, we now need to add some content and test this all out. So let's exit to our dashboard, and let's come to our pages, and let's add a new page in. So from here, we're just going to call this sample flexible. And like I say, we'll ignore the edit with Elementor. Let's start adding in a couple of these field groups. Let's add a new row, and we're just going to say we're going to give this some section content. We'll drop in a little bit of filler text, and we'll add another row in, and we'll say we're going to put a title in, and we're just going to call this section 2. Add another row in, and we'll say this is going to be a gallery. And we can do the same. We can add gallery, and we'll just choose a couple of images from there. Add that in. We'll add another row in, and we'll say we want to put another section content in there. And again, we'll just drop in some of that filler text. Add one final row, which is going to be another gallery. And this time we'll choose some different images, and we'll hit select. Okay, so we've now created a set of field groups from our flexible field groups, combining all 3 of the different types of flexible field groups we just created. Let's hit publish on this now, and let's just test this page out. Let's take a look at it. So let's view the page, and there we go. We can see there's our title of our page. There's the content we've done for the first section. There's our section 2 heading. There's our first gallery. We can click and we can take a look at our gallery in action. Then there's our second block of text, our content, and our second gallery inside there as well. So everything has been included, and obviously the styling has been picked up from what we set up and configure as part of these individual section templates. So there's nothing stopping you allowing your end user, your client, to create as much content as they want, but you define the styling of the template for it, for the page, post, whatever you set up, the styling of things like the galleries. You can control exactly what kind of sections or widgets or whatever you want to kind of call them are available to the end user. So you would give them a certain level of flexibility, all within the confines of how you want things to look. And this is a great way, I think, of not knowing what a client would want to put into their site, but giving them the tools and the styling set up so they could at least build the pages out or the posts out however they wanted to, using those component elements. And this plugin makes it really, really simple. So I was literally wrapping this video up, doing all the closing bits and pieces, and I kind of thought, let me just show you one more thing that I think really does open up and demonstrate how useful these flexible field groups, these flexible field content types can really be when you want to allow people to get a little bit more creative, but still confine them to the design aesthetics that you want to sort of tie them into. So what I'm going to do, We've come back over into the field group, same as it was when we started off, so nothing's different inside here. Let's open this up and let's create a new field group at the bottom. So we're going to add a new layout. So we say add new, and we're just going to call this advanced test. And we'll just drop in like we did the first time, layout underscored into there. But this time, we're going to do something different. We've gone in and created just one simple field inside each one of these. But this time, I want to kind of create something that's just a little bit more feature rich. So I'm going to add a couple more fields in. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to call this, let's say test title, just so it knows exactly what's going on. Text, perfectly fine. Need to do nothing else on there. I'm going to add another field in. This time we're going to call this test image. And again, we'll just let that fill that out. Change this over to be an image type, making sure that everything else is set up inside there. Okay, so one final one, and we're just going to call this test description. This time we're going to set that to be a text area, and we're just going to simply come down and we're going to set this to be automatically add break. So we've created just one layout, but inside there we created 3 fields this time instead of the first couple of times where we've only created one. And I'll show you why this is so powerful in a moment. Let's just update this. The next thing we need to do now is obviously create the template to hold this extra information, and just kind of repeat the same process as we've done on the first 3 different examples. So like before, I've come in, I'm creating a section template, and the section template is going to be for the 3 new fields all grouped together as one kind of custom block. So we're just going to call this advanced test, and we'll say create our template. So if you've ever seen me working with creating sort of like Elementor custom skin and creating those kind of loop items, this is fairly similar, as in we can pull in all the various different dynamic components into one simple template, and then we can use that template over and over again. But with this, we get the flexibility of being able to let the end user put the title, the image, and the description or the content we want to put inside that customized block. So what we need to do first of all is, like we've done before, we're going to drag in the header section. I'm not going to worry too much about styling these too heavily. I'm just going to quickly go through and just set up some really basic primary settings inside there, just so we can see how it all ties in together. And finally, we just set that to be uppercase. Okay, and we'll come back to this and we'll set this to be H4 because it's going to be a less important block. Dynamic tags, like we did the last time, simply come down to our flexible content text fields, click on the little wrench icon, and this time we're going to do test title. So that's the first part done. Next up, we're going to come back over. This time we're going to drop an image underneath that title. Now, because we don't have any real content using these new custom fields, we don't have anything to display inside here, but it works the same principle as we saw last time. We are literally just putting these placeholders in. So dynamic tags, we're going to click on there, flexible content image, same thing again, click on the wrench icon and choose test image, which is our new image custom field. And the final one we're going to do is drag and drop the text editor underneath this, like we did last time, and choose dynamic tags, text field, and this time we're going to just choose the test description. So that's the 3 blocks placed into our placeholder. So now we're just going to simply add a little bit of styling to this. So we'll just put, say, 30 pixels around there, and we're going to say that we want to put in something like some simple styling, and we'll just drop in a box shadow. So this is kind of going to be a sort of highlight section. It could be some useful information you want to draw attention to, whatever you want. But we'll just set the styling on there and we'll publish this. So that's our second template already configured. All we need to do now is come back out of this, go back into our theme builder, and we need to tell the single page template we created earlier that we've got a new content block that needs to be used inside this template for the page. So you can see this is already pulling in some basic info from our test earlier on. We just now need to select the widget for the flexible, the edit Rexy flexible content block. Hope that makes sense. And you can see there's our first 3 layers we've just created. Let's add our new item in. This time we're going to say advanced test, and we're going to do the layout is going to be advanced test. So we'll hit update on there. We've now set everything up. So we can go in now and we can just add this into our test page, test post, whatever content you're using to fill out these particular page layouts. So I've come back into the page we worked on earlier on. You can see there's all our flexible field group content. Let's just scroll to the bottom now and say we want to add a new row in. And you can see there's our advanced test item. We'll click to add that in, and then we've now got the 3 blocks inside there instead of just instead of just the 1 meta field we had previously. So let's just say this is going to be the call out section, and we'll add an image into here. It doesn't really matter too much where it is. We'll take this Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then we'll drop some content into the test description. And there we go. Everything is now set up. So all the things are in place. Let's click update on there, and let's just jump over then to our test page and take a look at this. So we'll view the page, and you can see there's what we had earlier on with our gallery and all that kind of stuff. And there's our new call out section. As you can see, styled differently, 3 different pieces inside there. So just using this technique where you create more advanced templates, more advanced flexible content areas, you can see you could really get quite creative with this and create something truly unique while still retaining that full design aesthetic. So I wanted to show you that as a bit of a bonus tip, because I think it should help you start to envisage the kinds of things you could do with this and how it could be a really powerful way of working, building sites that you then give access to clients for. So, Dynoments Rexy makes working with flexible content meta fields in ACF Pro and Elementor Pro a relative breeze. Now I'm looking forward to seeing what can be done when the repeater fields feature is also added, and I'll hopefully be able to demo that as soon as it becomes available to me. Now, as always, all of the applicable links are in the description below. Now, if you made it this far into the video, why not give that thumbs up button a click, as it really does help out. And while you're at it, if you like the content, why not also click the subscribe button and slap the bell icon. However, if you didn't get value from the video, well, hit that thumbs down button twice, as that works pretty well too. Well, my name's been Paul C, this has been WPTuts, and until next time, take care. That was better. Bit more flowy. Yes, flowy.